This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Prime.
She's been called the execution machine, and she's full of energy. One of the top women in technology the world has seen today, and what a privilege it is to have Ms. Sandy Carter, the General Manager of IBM, with us today. Ms. Carter, thank you so much for taking our time to speak to us today. Let's talk about the focus in India. I mean, you know, you've been here recently and you're back here again. Tell us how you look at the space and at a time when the world is sort of watching Indian startups. How does it seem to you?
Well, I have to say that coming into India is an energizing experience. So it feels like a Silicon Valley of its own, with its own culture and its own attributes.
Wow.
It is, it's exciting. People are talented. It's a great time to be in India, I think, and be a startup market. And what I see here is extremely talented people. You know, the numbers show that India will be more with developers than any other country in the world by 2018. More developers here, more technologists here. So you've got the talent, you've got the energy and the ideas, the creativity. You're starting to get funding to come in. So I think India is set to really, it's like the perfect storm. I think the one thing that we want to do here as IBM and what I want to do personally here is to help Indian companies grow. You know, I love the saying, it's easy to start a company, it's hard to grow a company. And so to me, that's the big thing that now we've got to get India over the hurdles. How do these startups grow their businesses and how do they successfully exit?
So tell us a bit about that. You know, you just mentioned, of course, you've been talking about mobile and cloud and the power of technology and how, you know, Indian startups and Indian entrepreneurs can use that. Tell us how, you know, the few problems that India as a country might face, the infrastructure issues or connecting. How are you planning to, you know, battle those?
Well, I think one, it's an opportunity and a challenge that I see is that there are some serial entrepreneurs here, but there aren't a plethora of them like there are in Silicon Valley or New York City or Israel or London. And so I think an opportunity here that we're trying to fill as IBM is to provide mentors. The numbers show that if you as a startup have a mentor, that you're 50% more likely to succeed. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so I think one is creating a lot of mentors here and having the ones that are successful, the entrepreneurs who have made it, to give back and to become mentors for others. I think that's one thing. I think second is that, you know, there's a lot of unique challenges here that I've learned in the Indian culture. You know, even delivering a package like the addressing that you guys have, right? I know there's startups trying to solve that problem. You know, the retailers just being cottage industry and not being digitally connected yet. And then some of the outer places not having the infrastructure. So I think there are some things to overcome. But I would say as a whole, India is really well positioned. I think we know the things we need to work on together to get India over that hump to become a powerful startup nation.
From Silicon Valley to here in India, there are so many youngsters that are choosing you know, entrepreneurship over traditional jobs. Tell us, how important is it to have the right technical skills, the right use of technology, networking, the power of social media? You've talked about that, we know, you know, so many times. But how important is that for Indian entrepreneurs to realize and utilize that power to just, you know, sort of take their startup to the next level?
Well, I would say that technology is going to be the crucial skill in the future. I mean, think about today, a company. Is there any company that you know of that's very successful that doesn't have technology as a critical element of what they're doing? It doesn't exist. So developers or technologists are the new kingmakers, or I like to say queen makers of the world. I think the power is there because if you can do technology, kind of the world is your oyster. You can do anything. So I think that's really important. But most startups don't fail because of technology. They fail because they don't have the right connections. They don't have the right go-to-market. So even though you've got great, and you as a mandate, you need that great talent and technical, you have to have that ability to network. And I think it's funny because I've had so many young startups here. We held a smart camp, and they came up to me and they said, people tell me to network, but they don't tell me how to network. So I think that's another opportunity is learning the skill of networking. Now, I have to say, I saw many startups who do that really well, but I think that's another talent that you have to learn as you go forward. And I think it's also a little different in India than in some other cultures as well. And then, of course, I think social is very powerful.
Yes.
If you're a startup, another thing that you lack is marketing. You can't spend a lot of money on marketing. You can't spend a lot of money on sales. So social can become that marketing machine for you and that selling machine for you. And so I think being able to focus on social media, social business, and use that is a really powerful skill. This morning I was with one of your largest and most strategic app developers here, and we were talking about small and medium enterprise and how in India, everybody's on Facebook, right? People are using it personally, but they haven't made the jump yet to use it for business, especially if you're a small business. And I think that's another chasm we've got to jump through.
Give us an example of how say an Indian startup that you might know of. How can it sort of use social media to sort of reach out to a wider audience?
So a great example is you have a product and maybe you use the freemium model to give a piece of the product away to build a social media community. And how you get that to go viral, might be through tweets, through a Vine video.
Yes.
It might be through, your Facebook page, and you offer something for free based on a referral, building up a true set of brand advocates. Think about some of the great companies out there who've done that sort of model. Dropbox, for instance, who's leveraged that to grow their business.
Let's talk about women in technology. You're someone that, who's an inspiration to many, many women out there in the world and including in India as well. Tell us who your role model was, and, if you were to tell women in technology, women to code, to learn, to just, push themselves out there and not be sort of afraid of a so-called male-dominated zone, what would you say?
Well, first of all, my hero when I grew up was my grandmother.
Wow.
She was a full, so this was in inches. I know you're going to do meters, but she's 4'11", which is really tiny, very short. But she was a mathematician.
Wow.
And she taught me that you could do, anything that you set your mind to, you could do. And she taught me to love numbers and be an encouragement when I was young, because I think that's when girls take a turn for something else. Even my own daughter, my own daughter came home the other day and she was asked to join a special math class. And her teacher called me and I was like, oh, this is great.
This is what you wanted, wasn't it?
This is great. And it's great, right? Because now my daughter, so this is perfect. So my daughter comes home and her head's down and she's all upset. I'm like, what's going on? She goes, I'll do anything. I'll do your laundry for a year. I'll cook for a year. She can't cook, but I'll do whatever. I'm not going to take the math class. So, it starts at that age. They feel like if, young girls feel like if they're in, in math, they're not cool. And so that's part of what we want to change. When I got to IBM, one of my big heroes was a woman by the name of Donna Van Fleet. She was one of the first general women managers at IBM. So she, again, was a great role model. So going back to our earlier conversation, I think people like to have someone they can model after.
Yes.
It gives them a path. It gives them hope. And so I think you have so many great, strong women here. And that would be a big dream of mine, is to really help maybe 10 great women here to become the face of women entrepreneurship in India.
Going back to the previous question, so if not maths, what are the daughters going to do? I mean, what's in their mind,
Oh, they went and did math. I told them they couldn't. Well, here's what I did.
Okay.
I asked my daughter, I told her she was going to do the math class, for sure. But tell me why you don't want to do it. And when I listened to her, it was all about being geeky, not having a role model, right? And I'm her mom, so I don't count. And so I actually went to the high school. I found one woman math teacher who was hip, young, and cool. And I kept calling her going, will you mentor my daughter? Will you mentor my daughter? Will you mentor my daughter? Finally, she said, you're not going away, so I better mentor your daughter. And so now my daughter is seeing other women around her, near her, who are successful in computer science and math. And so that's really helped to encourage her So she's now becoming a math girl.
Oh, wow.
But I hope one of them will do like a digital design. She's an artist, so I'm hoping that she does, you know, something like that.
Wow, that's
the other one wants to do architecture, which still requires math and computerization,
yes.
right?
Okay, great. This one, in the opening of your book, Get Bold, you say that I'm a vice president of IBM, mom, a wife, and a social business evangelist. You know, I just want to decode that. Tell us how, you know, your over 25 years with IBM have shaped how you are today, and how, you know, throughout this journey, what all have you learned and seen, the challenges that you faced? I mean, if you could just sum it up in a few lines.
Well, I would say one is that you've got to do what makes you happy. And that changes over your life. You know, I thought when I was younger I was going to be a doctor.
Oh.
And, you know, some things changed, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. And at one time, I didn't want children, and that changes. So I think one piece of advice is, you know, don't start out saying, here's the way it's going to be. You know, enjoy, embrace the change as you go along, because I think it makes you happier and stronger as you do that. I think the second thing is, I believe you can have it all. You just may not be able to have it all at the same time.
Okay.
Meaning that, you know, sometimes I can't do the business meeting because my daughter has her dance recital. Yeah. And so I go to the dance recital. So I prioritize one over the other. And I think it's, you know, I think it's less actually about balancing and more about integrating. How do you integrate it in? How do you integrate your life in and make sure that you're prioritizing the right thing at the right time? I was really fascinated. I went to the Taj Mahal this weekend.
Yeah.
And being a mathematician myself, one of the things I loved is the Taj is symmetrical. It's the most symmetrical building in the world. And so it got me thinking about, in our lives, you know, are we symmetrical? Are we balancing things out? And we can't be doing, you know, if we do all work, you're going to, if you're doing all, you know, just family,
a mix of work and play.
Yeah, it's got to be integrated, just like the Taj Mahal. And that's what makes it so beautiful, right, is that it is integrated.
Ms. Carter, your final word of advice to all those entrepreneurs in India just waiting with their ideas to just, you know, shoot up, and what would you say? What are the kind of things that they should look at? How should they update their skills, use more and more technology, you know, get mentors to just, you know, look over their ideas? So
I would say, you know, first is that you've got to believe that you can do it, that there's an opportunity, and now is the right time in India. So I think part of it begins with belief. What you believe in your mind, I think, influences what you do and how you approach the world. Secondly, I think everybody needs to have a technical background and keep that fresh. So even myself, you know, it's been a few years ago since I was in technology, but recently I just learned Python, which is a new programming language, because I wanted to keep it fresh and make sure that I understood what was really going on. So make sure, regardless of what you want to do, be a newscaster or an architect, you know, keep that technology fresh and learn that technology. Next, I would say to grab a mentor. Even if you're not going to be a startup, or if you are, mentors are so important. And remember that you were mentored. When you make it big and give back, right? Make sure that you're pulling someone forward as you come forward. Wow. And then I think last but not least is there's such great potential here in India. In addition to just being an entrepreneur for money, I would say consider how you're going to change the world. Most of the great startups, they don't start out saying, I'm going to make a lot of money. Yeah. They end up making money. But that's not the goal, right? The passion, working from the heart. The passion needs to be, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change
a problem that really needs a solution.
Yeah. I'm going to change healthcare in India.
Yes. I'm
going to change the way that, you know, retailers do supply chain. I'm going to change something. Be passionate about that. And everything else good will come. But if you start with the money, it's not going to happen for you. So that would be, you know, those would be some of my pieces of advice. And obviously do social. Social. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
You know, final question, what's your plan going forward? I read somewhere that you've said that in 10 years I would love to be an author of fiction books and teach marketing at a prestigious school. Is that what the plan is?
You know, I still would love to do that. I still want to write my fiction book. I've written 4 other business books, and I've got another one in the works. But I do want to write like a fun, you know, fascinating book. That's what I want to do. And you know, I can't imagine retiring. You know, like I don't really want to retire and hang out and do nothing.
So you just want to keep adding to the list of languages that you know?
I do. Yeah. I want to, you know, I want to teach. I want to. hopefully stay with entrepreneurs and coach them through things. I really am passionate about women founders. So I want to always keep active and keep moving and keep going. And so that's why I'm going to keep, modifying my goals as I move forward.
Great, great. Ms. Carter, it was great. It was a privilege talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.